Some thoughts were coming to my mind about this whole gun thing and the gun enthusiasm and gun community stuff. And, a lot of people may not have been raised with guns or BB guns or air guns. They may have never even handled a gun. They may have never seen a gun except on TV shows or movies or policemen or military people. And, I myself, I was raised, in a suburb in Oak Park, Illinois, and shooting, wasn't something you couldn't walk outside and go shooting. But I had relatives in Virginia. That's where I was born, and that's where I learned to shoot. First thing I learned to shoot was a pump-up Benjamin air rifle, and that thing would drive a 5mm pellet into a 2x4, like almost all the way through it, long-wise. 10 pumps at about 20 feet, you could put a pellet about 2 inches into a 2x4. You could, it was incredibly accurate. I had a lot of fun. We'd pick apples off of the trees by shooting at the stems, and just so you drop the apple and you could get a nice apple. I didn't go game hunting. I didn't want to kill animals. I loved animals. As a kid, I was already part druid. I felt like I could talk with animals and that I understood what they were feeling and thinking and stuff. I've always had a great empathy for animals, so I never had a real desire to go out there and shoot a bunch of squirrels or shoot a bunch of birds just because I could. To me, it was the mechanics and the fun of this machine that would sling this little pellet so fast and so accurately, and you could challenge yourself with it. And that's how in Boy Scouts we shot .22 rifles, we shot skeet, and I had my first air pistol given to me by my grandpa when I was, I think, about 9 or 10. I had an air pistol, and I used to shoot in my basement with it, set up a trap and shoot down there. Didn't shoot outside because, the pellet would go too far. It could break somebody's window in a house or hurt somebody or hurt some animal. I mean, I was sensible about it, I never had this, feeling of, I've got a gun because I'm going to kill somebody with it. I got to get me a gun because the niggas is coming, some crazy bullshit like that, like people seem to think, the zombies, and what they think they really mean is, the poor people. So, in having lived in so many different places, I've lived in ghettos, I've lived in trailer parks, I've lived in the country, I've lived in the city, I've lived by the ocean, I've lived up in the mountains, and to me, it was never about, I've got to have a gun because I'm going to kill somebody. For many, many years, I didn't bother with guns and stuff. I always had knives, I had swords, I had nunchucks, I had throwing stars. I had a whole bunch of weapons. I was always a martial type of person. I was trained in sword fighting, stage play. Then I took fencing and épée, and I've always had a real interest in all the martial type stuff. If I could have a suit of armor sitting by my fireplace, I'd be a happy camper. It's not because I want to jump around in my armor and battle people. To me, it just makes some kind of connection to me. I just feel like that every man should have a knife. I mean, that's like a thing of manhood. You come of age, your balls drop, some hair sprouts, and you should have a knife. That's about it. And for me, the gun thing, see, I live with a woman who is afraid of guns and sees that handguns are nothing but murder weapons. They're for murdering people. And you really can't argue with that. I mean, that's what a handgun is for. It's for murdering another person. I mean, you can call it self-defense. You can call it protecting yourself. But what it ultimately is you're going to murder somebody. And you got to ask yourself, the whole mental consequences of, are you mentally prepared to take another person's life? Are you that kind of person? Is it because you're a sociopath and you have no empathy? Or is it because you feel your life is more valuable than their life? Or is it because, your possessions are extremely valuable to you and anybody that takes or touches your stuff should die? Or you've got to ask these questions. I think you have to come to all of that well before you ever think, I'm going to carry a gun to shoot somebody. And so I've already gone through all of that. I've gone through a lot of cogitations on that, and I finally came to the position, after having kids, after finding the right woman, having kids, that yes, the life of my family, my children, my wife, and me, to be able to be there for them and take care of them, is more important than the guy that wants to take my life. There's no question in my mind. If I feel my life is threatened, I will respond with deadly force. If I have to. I don't have that new gun owner anticipation and enthusiasm of, oh, wow, I can't wait to go and tell those guys to turn down their music, and then I'll use the stand your ground law so I can shoot one of them. I mean, that just happened a few weeks ago. I don't know if you guys saw that in the news, but the guy's on 9/11. He's standing in his driveway bitching at some teenagers because they're playing loud music at night. He's got his gun out, brandishing it, which is illegal. He's telling them that, you know, on the 9/11, I feel in fear for my life. He's using all the catchphrases that he's been taught by reading gun magazines and research on the internet, all the things he needs to say in order to be able to shoot somebody and not go to jail. To my mind, that guy's evil. Okay? The kids are playing loud music. It's pissing you off. That's what the cops are for. You call the cops. The cops go to them. They tell you, shut it down or you're going to jail. That's what cops are for. Those kids were not breaking into his house. They were not threatening him with a weapon. He went over there with a weapon, looking for a gunfight, looking for an excuse to use his pistol. I bet you he hasn't even had that pistol very long. And now he's got a gun, so he doesn't have to be afraid of some punk kids. Turn that music down. Get off my lawn. Burr, burr, burr. Bang, bang, bang. Well, I'm not going to have to go to jail because I stood my ground. They came out with the guns because I had my gun. And I don't even have a meter that goes low enough to say how low I think of people like that. All right, so to wrap up my thoughts on all that, don't go looking for trouble, have situational awareness. Deadly force is a last resort to save your own life or the life of one of your loved ones. It's not to protect property. It's not to dispel trespassers. I mean, it's funny to say trespassers shot on sight, but if you want to see the inside of a jail for a really long time for making a bad decision, that would be one of the bad decisions you could make. You should only take a life to preserve a life. That's how I feel about it. That's the bottom line. Owning gun use as a personal defense weapon. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons to own a gun besides killing somebody. But if you own a pistol and you intend to carry it with you, you're not carrying it to do target shooting down at the mall, okay? You're not carrying it to show your buddies how cool it is. You're carrying it, hopefully, concealed so nobody even knows you have it, so that if a situation arises where your life is threatened and there are no other people there to protect you and there is no other recourse, you cannot flee, you cannot, talk your way out of it, whatever, that's what the gun's for. To my mind, having a gun thinking you're going to get into a gunfight is childish. It's based on some sort of TV, video game fantasy. There are no real zombies out there. There's just human beings that are as intent on their life as you are on yours. And most people are good people. I would say the vast majority of people I meet every day, I would have no problem sitting down with them, sharing a few tales, having something to eat, talking with them. I mean, I can get along with almost anybody. But if you have somebody who is already made the decision in their mind that they're going to take what they want and they'll do whatever they want to anybody to get what they want, that kind of person is, in a certain way to my mind, they've already made their decision. When we come across somebody like you or me who have a gun and will defend ourselves, they just made the wrong choice, As Jeff over on Gun Website says, That'll make them wish they hadn't gone to work that day and just stayed home and smoked crack. So, don't go looking for trouble. Owning a gun doesn't mean you're going to go out and shoot anybody. I've owned guns for a really, really long time. I've never shot anybody. I've owned knives for even longer. I've never cut anybody. Just because you have a fascination with these kind of machines, these kind of tools, doesn't mean you're a bad person and you're going to go hurt people. And living with somebody like my wife, who is completely on the other spectrum of gun ownership, wishes there were no guns, wishes nobody had guns, thinks all guns are bad, that all guns are just an accident waiting to happen. You know, it keeps it real for me, because I have somebody who is extra sensitive to gun etiquette. I don't brandish guns. I don't show guns. When I go out to the woods and do my target shooting, I am doing it in an extremely safe manner. When I come back to the house and I lock my guns up, nobody can get at them except me. And if I choose to carry a gun, it's not something that I take a vote on. I don't say, hey, honey, is it okay if I carry a gun? Because I don't keep my balls in her purse, okay? They're right here, right down there, attached to my junk. So, don't go looking for trouble. Be responsible. Train. Go out in a private area. If people don't like seeing you with guns, go someplace where people can't see you. Train. Train, train, train. Dry fire, dry fire. It doesn't cost you a thing to holster and reholster your weapon. It doesn't cost you a thing to draw a bead on a doorknob and press the trigger and hear the click. Those are the things that you need to do to get the muscle memory. And then go out and actually fire your ammo so that you're used to the recoil, you're used to the noise, the shock wave, all of that. You got to be used to it. You can't shoot your gun for the first time when you need it. You got to be immune to those effects, so that all of that is actually kind of pleasurable. The whole idea of holding the gun and gripping it, and the way your muscles feel when you're holding it, and the way it feels when it recoils in your hand, and all of that. If it isn't pleasurable for you, you're probably not a gun person. But if you like that, you love it, and you just want to do it all the time, then you probably are a gun person. It doesn't mean that people who aren't into guns are bad, and it doesn't mean that people who are into guns are bad. We're just people. We have different interests. Some people like fast cars. Some people like electric Prius, you know. We all like different things, and it doesn't make us good or bad. It's opinions that get in the way. And this is, of course, my opinion getting in your way.